I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us on the last school board meeting of the 2014-15 school year. So we'll get right to it. And we've been trying to wrap up a fair amount of business for this year, and we're still figuring out whether a few modifications to the agenda are indeed accurate. And
all right, I'm going to offer two changes to the agenda. One will be a supplemental dated today, and the other will be personnel supplemental dated today. And another one will be supplemental, Roman numeral 2, also dated today, but we are still editing. So we'll have it for you by the time we vote on it.
Which will the good students from Ithaca High School to talk slowly.
Exactly, right. We want to hear everything here at the end of the year, but it is the end of the year, and hence two supplementals as we get a number of things done.
Okay. Anything else? Well, y'all are figuring that out, so we'll go ahead and we'll hear from the public and staff, and looks like we have a few folks from Earhart Energy, but Jeremy first. And I see a big check over there, but Jeremy, you're first, and JT, if you are second, or do it together.
Yeah, we'll do it together. You want to go into the front there?
Oh, definitely, please do. Especially if you have big checks.
Good. I'm Jeremy. I'm with the local station, ESPN, with Earhart Energy. And this past year, we teamed together and we recognize our Feeling Excellence Athletes of the Week. I host an afternoon talk show on the station, and every Tuesday of the school year, we bring a male and a female athlete of the year, or of the week, onto the show. Do a short interview, tell a little bit to our listening audience about their accomplishments and why we think that they're important and they deem to be our athletes of the week. And then with that, on the side of Earhart Energy, they donate $50 to the school's booster club for each athlete that we have. And we want to recognize 5 Ithaca High athletes this evening who were our Feeling Excellence athletes this past school year.
Yeah, I just want to say again, my name is JT from Earhart Energy. We're up in Shrewsbury. So our company, is honored to be able to partner with ESPN to, make these weekly awards possible. Supporting local athletics is something that's, really important to our company, and we really hope to be doing it with them for years to come. And just want to congratulate all the winners and present the check.
We'll mention them. We'll mention the winners.
Yeah, please do.
From girls lacrosse, Kylie Sposito, and this is actually dated back in March, where she scored 4 goals from a victory over Binghamton. Juliette Maitland, also of the girls lacrosse team, she had 5 goals and an assist in a victory over Union Endicott. Zach Johnson for the boys team was actually a 2-time winner of ours, and he, in one game, he scored 3 goals. In the first win of the year at Binghamton, they had 2 more and a loss to Pittsford. It was a loss, but still had to do the 2 goals. And Lauren Trumbull was a recipient of the Feeling Excellence Award. She finished first in the 1500 meter, second in the 400 meter at the Red, White, Blue, and Gold Invitational back on April 21st. And Luke Sinon recently just won it. He was 2 weeks ago, track and field runner. He came in first in the 110 meter hurdles after being placed 6th. So we thought that was pretty admirable, so we want to recognize that.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thanks to Earhart Energy, T-Bird, but Ithaca appreciates it, and
Thanks for having us.
as an example to other companies out there that are actually Ithaca-based, we appreciate that. And I know the athletic boosters. Well, they'll take anything they can get, but it's great to support them as well, and and all those funds go directly to the programs, and it's great to support Ithaca High athletics. And we'll move on, and Adam.
Good evening. I'm Adam Paisecki, President of the Teachers Association, and just wanted to briefly state that yes, we've reached the end of another school year. Somehow we always say it's been a long year, but a fast year. I'm not quite sure how those two words go together, but it was another long year. A lot going on. There were 2 additional student days this year. Maybe that's why it felt a little bit longer. And another day of students, and then obviously a staff day, and staff will continue working and blending right into next year. What's happening now is getting ready for September, so there's never really a break. There'll be a lot of work going on over the summer for everyone getting ready for our students to arrive in the fall. And as you can see, there's been awards and all kinds of recognitions. This is the efforts of coaches and teachers and other staff members that do make every day successful for our students. And so on behalf of the president of teachers, and I know I can't speak for the others, but I will in this case, the staff, everyone from administrators right down to the bus drivers and everybody. This is the work that we do as public employees in the school district. So I just want to say congratulations for another year in what we do. It's hard work, and I think the community values what we do here as employees in the district for our students. And I just wanted to say that we'll be back here in September, and I think there's a couple meetings in the summer where a lot of work will get done, but I just wanted to end with that and say we've made it through another year.
Thanks, Adam. And Melanie Stein.
Thanks. I wanted to say something about special education, which I put on the sign-in sheet. But before that, I have a little question about the Chromebooks. My son was in one of the pilot Chromebook rooms, and he really liked it. He's not able to share his folder with anybody outside the district, and I'm wondering if that's by design. I mean, he can't share it with me, so we have trouble accessing his partially done work from home. That's a question, which I have sent to the appropriate people, but haven't gotten an answer, so I'm hoping you guys can follow up on that. So about special education, I did find the fantastic special education plan that appeared on the district website recently. I looked for it on Friday, didn't find it, but I did find it today. So quick look, and it looks like it was a huge amount of work, but very helpful information. And I think we need to acknowledge that we don't have a director of special education anymore, which makes it even more impressive how much the special education department is able to do with less budget. And another example of that, and the thing is, every time there's a budget crisis, the special education department gets squeezed, and it never gets to recover. Then there's another crisis, squeezed again. And so the squeeze that I particularly wanted to bring to your attention is the support teachers that we used to have, one in, I believe, each elementary school. And now we have one person who's called kind of the CSE 504 chair for 4 elementary schools. So in other words, one person is doing what used to be the work of 4 people. And I don't remember the figure, but I think it's like a couple hundred students that each of these 2 people is responsible for. And that's a pinch that I think is going to hurt us in the long run. And I'm not sure how many of the current members of the Board of Education are aware of that particular pinch, because it happened, I don't know exactly what year it happened in, but maybe Sheila will be able to share more about that. But so those are 2 of many areas where I think the special education department feels the pinch more than anything else, more than any other area in our district. And they do a superhuman effort, but I think they need more support from all of us. Thanks.
Thanks, Melanie. Anyone else wish to speak now? If not, we'll...
Yes, I would too. My name's Fred Hook, and I'm the BGM PTA co-president. I'm here to talk about one of the instructors at BJM. He is the musical instrument instructor there. He's been there for probably a year and a half or so and has really completely transformed musical education when it comes to the use of instruments in our school. He's been really, really wonderful. He's currently a 0.7 FTE, and we would like to make him full-time. I've gotten, let's see, I started a petition about this morning and got 96 signatures. I was almost late here because I wanted to get as many as I could. Considering that the school has the order of 250 children, I got a significant fraction of the parents and relatives of BJM. This is really important to us. I hope you will consider it. I've got the petitions here. Whoever I should give them to, please let me know.
The board clerk, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you.
And Shirley.
Some kudos to two people of our English department. I've been here since 2003, and this year we just, of course, finished grading the Regents exam again. And every single one of our ESL students who took the English Regents passed. And I really Mary Moore, Jen Heiss, etc. They all need our thumbs up.
Thank you, Shirley. We like nice comments like that if you want to replicate that. Anyone else before we move on to, well, moving on to students from, I guess there's still students at the Guy School since, is class done with yet, Mr. Trumbull?
Class?
Are we done? Okay. So they're rising your...
Are we complete? No.
Okay, all right. So
No.
okay. So I asked the principal, but okay, guys, go ahead.
So jumping off that, we've had a lovely school year, but unfortunately it's come to an end. So now students have a few months to work, relax, or further expand their education. Students are most excited about the time to hang out with their friends out in the sun, which has come and given us a very hot day today. Graduating seniors will look forward to the freedoms that come from adulthood, and other students can look forward to school starting again in September.
So as I'm sure you all know, this past week, 2 weeks have been the testing week. And we've finally completed what some might call an ordeal of state testing and final testing. As is usual, there's some false alarms and panic, students arriving to the wrong test, the usual, but we're finally through it and we're happy to have successfully wrapped through the year. And coming up soon, leaving just after July 4th on July 6th, we have the GAP German exchange going to southern Germany and Tuttlingen. So our school education continues. German school is still in session, so our students, it's rumored, will have some German summer homework to look forward to when they go.
On Friday, June 12th, students attended classes with shortened periods for the first half of the day, and the second half of the day was field day. And at field day, many fun activities were set up in Sweetfield and on the turf, and students had the chance to participate in activities such as a teacher dunk tank, a drunk driving simulation, sports such as soccer, frisbee, tennis, and many of them just chose to relax in the shade, signing yearbooks and enjoying a live band, eating free cotton candy and ice pops. And it was a great way to end the school year, and students thoroughly enjoyed it. In sports, several of Ithaca's athletes and coaches were honored at ESPN Ithaca's annual Night of Champions. Congratulations to these folks, and particularly Lauren Trumbull, who was named by ESPN Epica as the best female athlete of the year. And some other individuals to recognize: Lauren Duffy was Epica's first ever All-American academic lacrosse player, and Kevin Miller has reached All-American rank in swimming for the 500 freestyle. And select members of the IHS track team had gone to nationals in North Carolina. It was an incredible achievement to be able to attend, and it was a great experience overall. And we'd like to take a minute out of our usual presentation to pay homage to fellow board representative, all-around great student, and spirit of the school, Connor Coots. This is his last meeting, and for a few years Connor has been being in this position.
And I think through his advice, guidance, and promotion of the school board, not only do we have four representatives, but we had one of the most hotly contested election seasons with 8 people running for just 4 spots, which is great. And I think we owe it all to Connor's drive for this position and for the school. And so Connor has livened up, I think, what would normally be quite a normal and mundane task of the school. And we'll dearly miss his presence here.
Yep. We wish you all the best for summer, for college, and we hope you will continue on to represent IHS as you have done so well here. Thank you so much for your service, not only to the board, but to IHS. The community will miss you.
And we know your fondness for citing Shel Silverstein poems in books. We unfortunately could not find one that was fitting, but we did find a Dr. Seuss quote for you. We thought would be in the same spirit. And you have your brains in your head, you have your feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know, and you are the guy who decides where you go. So thank you so much. We have a card and some cookies to pass around.
You can just take a cookie and pass it down.
Can I just interrupt for a second? I'm their advisor. You guys need to know I had nothing to do with this. This was all the kids. I had absolutely nothing to do with this.
Well, thank you. That was very nice. I want to echo what Mrs. Kennedy said that I do know about the ESL kids passing. And that goes to show the committed staff we have, and that's great. And it brings me to my next point. Picture this, 22 kids from at least 8 countries going into the wilderness at Letchworth State Park. And then world swirled, screamed, and beamed at Darien Lake, you know, the theme park. There was an opportunity for kids to leave early to go to their exams. And there was a colossal amount of food. Fried food, fast food, campfire food, roasted food. It was a whimsical time had by all. Graduation. Please, please come to graduations. For 4 years, we as seniors have worked diligently fulfilling requirements, learning things about life, facing challenges, etc. Come celebrate with us. Jay True will be there. And if that's not enough to get you there, I don't know what is. I will also be speaking 7 p.m. this Thursday at Ithaca College Athletic and the 25th. With the numerous opportunities students have had this year to utilize various video production technologies and make some really fabulous, fantastic, flavorful films for WISE classes also. There will be an opportunity for students to actually show their awesome art tomorrow at a movie theater, which is Cinemapolis at 7 p.m. Want to support our students? Well then, stop by. Lastly, as was said, this is my last school board meeting. I remember my first meeting, making people laugh instantly, and that has been one of my few goals. Everything is enhanced by humor, as you know, so that's important to make people laugh. Involving students in the board process, bridging the gap between central office and the students with site-based meetings, quad questionnaires, student council Q&As, and countless of my own meetings, I've truly learned a lot on this school board, and I'm forever thankful. I have put a formal flair on our attire and trained each one of these students before you today. making this a really serious endeavor, because this is, after all, the Board of Education, the legislative body of the district. I want to thank all the board members, from Mr. Ainsley's leadership to his jokes, to Eldred's feeding me desserts, Pat's giving me rides home, union president, any community member who's ever spoken at a board meeting fulfilling their civic duty, superintendent, teachers, students. It's been a great experience and truly extraordinary. And that's all for this evening.
Thank you, Connor. And Connor, I remember your first school board meeting as well. And since we're on Connor, and thank you, Lisa, Max, and James. You've all done a great job. Connor, you have been someone special, and we don't often do this, but Pat, I believe you do have something for Connor.
Okay. The board response.
Exactly.
I too, Connor, was reflecting on your first board meeting 3 academic years ago. The young man, Natalie dressed, suit and tie, when he opened his mouth to give the first utterance of that now iconic phrase, picture it, I thought to myself, Edward R. Murrow has come back among us. Over the years, we have all of us on the board, as well as the community and your peers at Ithaca High School, have come to value your commentaries. Pithy, poignant, always provocative. What could we as a board do to further you in your life's journey after you leave this room today? This is a gift, modest gift, but we think you'll find it useful, from all of us to you.
Peppy Monologues, 32 original monologues by Mary Moncure Parker.
I have spent the remaining year searching in vain for the companion volume, Snappy Monologue. When I find it, it shall be yours. Thank you for your service and for the legacy you've left behind. I know your younger peers will rise to the occasion.
Thanks, Matt. Other board responses?
Thank you.
Just want to also echo all of the good natured feelings that we have for Connor. We expect you to do great things out there, and I think you've grown to appreciate not just that this board has the interests of young people at heart, but I think you've studied and measured our diversity, and you're going to need to understand that to be able to maximize your potential out there. This board is rural, this board is urban, this board is black, this board is white, this board is male, this board is female, this board is immigrant. This board has Cornell graduates who go back to the mid-19th century. Right? So as you begin to make your mark, keep that in mind. I mean, this country needs folks who have that diversity of thought and diversity of experience, and we're expecting to see you on some pretty substantial platform in the next decade. So you got a lot to live up to, dude.
Sean, go ahead.
I don't have nearly as eloquent a speech prepared as Pat did, nor the year-long book that's been in my possession to give to other folks. But I'm also cognizant that this is 2 other people's last board meeting as well. In fact, we have served all 6 years together for myself. So Eldred and Jay, we got elected 6 years ago together, and then got re-elected 3 years ago together. And I just want to say, Eldred and I chose to run together as friends and brothers, and we've known each other for years. And so it was great watching how that relationship also transferred to this capacity and what we can do for young folks in the community. Jay, it was an absolute treasure to get to know you and your perspective and to be pushed by your questions, which Not quite as eloquent as Eldred's, but nonetheless perplexing. So we love those. But to the both of you, thank you mightily for the time, the energy, your experience and expertise that you've given to young folks in this community.
Thank you.
You've done a great job, both of you.
I just counter I think what a lot of folks don't recognize is your level of engagement and how much time you truly put in. Yes, you do have a peppy monologue that you always bring to the table, but you are very involved, and what you've done with your fellow students is admirable, and you will be missed. For Eldred and Jay, I don't think I can do you guys justice. I really have to commend Eldred, because one thing he did time and time again was always ask, what about kids? Whether he called them young people, little folks, or something.
Little mutants.
Little mutants. He focused on the children, which is the business of this school district. And you know, oftentimes his perplexing questions may have been misrepresented, misunderstood, or
Or basically not understood at all.
However,
well, I mean, I'm just trying to.
His intention was always genuine. He always held it to a high standard. He challenged us to think differently, to raise the bar. I know he's challenged Dr. Brown time and time again. He's challenged us to think differently. And he always painted a picture of what true learning looks like, what true engagement looks like, and you know, that will be missed. I think that was often lost when people found him perplexing, but I found that consistent, and I really respect that. Jay, you're a deep guy, but you know, you're
equally misunderstood.
No, I understand, Jay.
Okay.
I just can't answer. But you know, Jay really, his level of commitment is really great. His historical knowledge, I really relied on him for some history and some perception that I just didn't get as a new board member that I'm still catching up to speed on. And so that will truly be missed as you transition to civilian life, as I call it. You know, but feel free to hang around. But thank you guys. I really appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Others? Well, Pat, go ahead.
I didn't prepare any alliterative phrases for Jay and Eldred, but I also wanted to acknowledge as of July 3rd, we won't be the new people on the board anymore, but I just want to add my voice to the superlative job that both Jay and Eldred have done, and they have been examples for me. They have helped me understand my role better. I am in awe of the amount of time that they put in the service of our children, our families, our community, our teachers. They have done great service, and I thank them for every day they've served on the board.
Anything else? Fred?
Ditto.
I guess just to wrap up, for those of you who do not remember, I certainly remember Jay and I are classmates at Ithaca High School. So we were actually one of the few boards that had two Ithaca High grads on at the same time, and now I'm all alone. So I will miss Jay's input, but I believe we have Jay lined up to be on the audit committee going forward. So because there are people from the community on the audit committee, it's a split committee from board members and folks in the community. Jay will probably be on the committee in perpetuity. but I think that the point is Jay will stay involved. And Eldred, I have no doubt in my mind that you will stay involved with the young people of this community. We're going to need your input, whether you sit at this table or whether we're seeing you in the community. So I certainly really appreciate everything that all school board members do. You know, my best job is I don't have to be the chair of a committee. those are the guys that do all the work. Jay and Eldred have done a tremendous amount of work at the committee level, and that's really where the work of the district is done. And I can't thank you enough for your service in the past, willing to run and serve again, and really looking forward how we can continue to work together for the benefit of the community. So with that, Dr. Brown, we'll keep moving. But for those who are wondering, we did shower them with gifts off-site. So Connor got his here, but Jay and Eldred certainly were appreciated by the board at an off-site location. So we'll go ahead, and if I'm not mistaken, we've talked long enough. Do we have the consent agenda figured out, fellas?
How we do?
Okay.
Right? You're okay with the dates?
I am not okay with the dates.
You're not okay with the dates. That's something.
Yes.
Because that was a year ago that you had there, and this extends each of those 1 year.
Yes.
And you're not ready to do that.
You don't need me. It was a different conversation that we had, that's all.
Okay. But you're, okay.
I'm not gonna stop you.
So the answer is yes, we're ready to go ahead.
Everybody got that? Okay, good. All right. So.
It was an editing issue.
Okay.
I'll move the consent with the supplemental and the second supplemental.
I need a second, if anyone's ready.
I'll second.
Second by Chris.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, we're waiting for the sidebar.
Do we want to remove one? Do we want to pull that from the?
I'm good.
Are we good?
I'm good.
You're good. All right.
I do have a question about the consent agenda, so we can carry
Please do.
So there's a change in the minutes. The minutes indicate that Chris Malcolm called us back from exec session last meeting, but then also indicate that Chris and I were both absent. We were absent at the beginning of the exec session, but came midway through. So if the minutes can reflect our presence after exec session in the minutes, that's one change that I caught.
Good reading, good catch. Good catch.
We try to be accurate.
And
go ahead.
And on the, Brett, I wasn't able to stay yesterday, but I will talk about the facilities meeting in a minute, right? But I was able to stay for the finance committee meeting, and anything we should know about these two resolutions here?
Which one? We've got the food service.
Then that's the appropriation of fund balance.
And the appropriation fund balance, okay. We're food service, increasing the lunch prices by a nickel. Modest. We got a report yesterday. They've broken even again this year. Food service, yep, does a great job. Yeah, one of the few school districts around is able to take no subsidy from the school board. They pay the wages and the fringes of their employees from the food service.
As perspective, we were a couple $100,000 in the red previously.
No, not that far.
Or maybe
No, we fell about 100 into the red at one point and provided some small subsidy. They had some fund balance in that account, but we chewed some of that up, but now they're back to break even. So we're just proposing a nickel change in the lunch, no change in the breakfast.
But I would, just to interject, I would point out that Denise has done this by locally sourcing as much as she can.
Right.
They're prepping and preparing food on site. It is not prepackaged. It is not not coming in
processed.
Coming in processed, but obviously making use of whatever government programs there are. But one of the few programs that is breaking even, also adhering to the federal standards. Many districts have thrown up their hands and not even tried. So Denise and her staff and that unit has done a tremendous job. Go ahead, Brett.
Yep, and then the other you're asking about is authorizing an appropriation to the capital reserve. As we come to the end of the year, we believe we're going to have some fund balance. This is authorizing up to $1.5 million if we were so lucky to be appropriated to our capital reserve.
which we often roll over and used by buses.
And which
In the past.
Done
we
for the
will
last-
almost definitely roll over and use for buses in another year. But yes,
So it's pretty, my point, it's kind of a routine, this is our normal procedure.
yes.
But it's a routine good thing.
It's a routine good thing because
Yeah.
we haven't been able to do this for the last couple of years.
And are we good on this?
Yep, we're good.
You know, any other questions? But we're good on the both personnel items, supplementals. Is that okay? All right. You good, Chris?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
One of the individuals had a 4-year already. So by extending it a year, it's still 4 years. But we'd already granted that once before.
So it's all just a 1 year.
Yep, it's all just 1 year.
It's all 1 year.
Yep.
One more month? All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it might as well, we might as well know what's going on down at this end of the table. Yeah, I just wouldn't want the board vice president and the guy supposedly running the thing to know what's going on. All right, so we're all good? All in favor? That's everyone. And Judy Max is absent tonight. Thought she might be able to get here, but is not here. Other than that, we're all here. Yeah. And so, Dr. Brown, after much, we haven't heard much from you, Dr. Brown, tonight. So why not? You're the superintendent. You can talk.
And I will be for a bit longer. So thank you. And to enlighten everyone at home watching and folks in the audience, some of the conversation was about extensions of the contract. And mine is one of them. This is the time of year where the board votes to extend or not extend the superintendent's contract. And fortunately, for me and my family, the board did vote to extend my contract an additional year. I think I'm here until 2020 as of that. And for that, I won't let a moment pass without saying thank you to you and the community for your support. I plan to be here until 2020 unless something happens. And I'm just going to say that now, and I appreciate that. When my little daughter starting kindergarten next year, and our little son is going to be in Northeast the year after, I'm so happy that the board voted tonight to extend, even though it was a bit confusing at times, but it was all for a good reason from my perspective, so thank you. And along with that, there were some other appointments in that consent agenda that I wish to speak to now, and I hope to use a visual if this all works here tonight. We've had this up before, the central office organizational chart. As I look over at Mr. Trumbull there, at this time last year, we had a chief excellence officer and we had him in a central role. And over the past 12 months, we've been sort of, because of things, because life happens in our school district, we've had some shifts. And as I've said publicly, we've been operating not at full capacity at the executive team level. And the board has asked me to shore up that support, created a support structure, but at the same time hope to save money. Not at any point to say spend more money on central office support, but hopefully we can create some efficiencies. And we've been able to do so. We talked about the transition of Dr. Randolph from Chief Academic Officer to the Deputy Superintendent several meetings back, and that we've done, which created an opening at the Chief Academic Officer role, and we've had the Chief Administration Officer role open for a year. We had an interim person serving in that capacity for much of the year, but Mr. Trumbull did an outstanding job at high school. We've missed a permanent person in that role. So I say all that tonight, we, thanks to the board in voting on the consent agenda, we've approved the appointments of 2 key individuals into the chief academic role and the chief administration role. And I will talk about the chief academic role first. And I won't go through all the specific job responsibilities. Just sort of here to sort of give folks a sense of what the individual folks do in these particular roles and across our executive team. But we also do a little bit of each other's job as well. But the Chief Academic Officer role is a key position for the organization in charge of all things teaching and learning right now, point person for our curriculum and teaching and learning initiative, curriculum work, APPR work going forward. And I'm so happy to say, and we did an internal advertisement for this role, moving an outstanding educator. So outstanding that she's held the title as master educator for a while, but an outstanding educator moving into this role as chief has started her career in Virginia, although we didn't know each other in Virginia, but has done everything from being a classroom teacher to doing professional development at high levels for educators all over the country to being a significant contributor to all that has happened in our school district, at least under my tenure and for many years before that. And when you say her name, folks, there is a sense of credibility and respect for the work that she's done, is doing, and will do in the future. And with that, I'm so happy to say Liddy Hall is going to be our new Chief Academic Officer. I must say, a great hire for the school district. Excited about you being on this team in that fashion. The other role, Chief Administration Officer, again, another key role for our organization. This role will be responsible for the building and the grounds going forward, transportation, and as you see, several other key administrative departments, aspects of the organization. A huge role for us. Moving into this role, we knew we needed to have a thinker, someone who was good with people, to motivate, a visionary, and we want someone to walk on water. We looked long and far for that person, and we have someone internally to do just that also. Someone we asked to do this kind of, I remember when we talked at this table about who we would bring in to be the new Director of Fine and Performing Arts 3 years ago. And I remember we had to, after talking about that position, we said we would have to have someone who can walk on water to come in and do what we wanted to do in this community. And from my perspective, we found that person doing that. We knew if we found someone doing that work, that person would want to grow and expand and do more. And fortunately, we had a person in that role who wanted to expand and do even more. I'm so honored to say that our new Chief Administration Officer is one of the best thinkers I've had a chance to work with, David Brown. So David's going to be moving into this role as of right now. So David will still have some oversight of the Fine and Performing Arts programming in the organization. We will be looking to fill the Director of Fine and Performing Arts in the near future, maybe with an interim in the near future, but in time we are eliminating that position for the folks at home and in the room who are thinking about that key role for the organization. So that rounds out the team. We're back at full capacity now, and the work is ahead of us. So congratulations to everyone, and we look forward to working with all of you. With that, I have some other items too, if I can get to. And with the Chief Academic Officer role, I wish we can transition to talking about we're going to talk about several student programs that are going to be on the horizon. One is a summer program that's going to happen in the near future, in the next couple of weeks, that we're really, really excited about. We thought it would be good to update the board on what's happening in the community, on what's happening right now. So Liddy, in your new role as Chief Academic Officer, you want to talk about this cool program we have?
Sure, yeah. We're really excited to have what we're calling a hybrid summer program. It's a hybrid between professional development for teachers and a summer school support program for students. So we have 30 rising 7th graders from Boynton and DeWitt who are going to be coming for a summer school program that's not a traditional summer school program. And they are students that were either in accelerated math in 6th grade, and we want to support them in continuing to be in an accelerated math in 7th grade, or they were students that weren't in accelerated math in 6th grade, and we want to give them support so they can be in accelerated math in 7th grade. So they are going to come every other day, every other week, for 6 4-hour sessions, actually 9 4-hour sessions, I'm sorry. And the reason that's the every other day is because we are also having the teachers not just plan for the next day, but really do professional development on best practices and incorporating the idea of a flipped classroom into this so that students are doing work at home, they're watching a video, they're reading something, they're trying something out, and then they're coming into class and really considering that with the teachers and working through where they might have had an issue with some initial information. So that idea that the students are going to be working at home and at school during the summer, and when the students aren't at school, the teachers are not just going to be planning, they're going to be learning new ideas and investigating best practices for teaching math. So it's an exciting program. We have 3 teachers from Boynton and DeWitt doing that. They have just taken the lead on it. They have recruited students. Every student they recruited is coming. We have worked with Lily Talcott with transportation so that we can use existing summer transportation so that they can all get to the program, and the parents are behind it, and we're just really excited for this sort of a new hybrid program.
Another program I wish to give you an update on, and there's a press release circulating amongst the Cornell community, and there's one on our website also. We were successful with a grant application with the New York State Department of Education for it's a STEP grant. So in the STEM field, we now have about $200,000 per year to support academic support for young people from underrepresented populations, situations that typically don't move into the science field, the science and technology, engineering, mathematics field. So we have about $200,000 per year to support them academically in our school district and also help transition them into college programs as well. I'm really excited about this collaboration with Cornell and the grant. More information will follow as we nail down the details, but right now we know the money's coming, which is a key piece. And I think that might be it. And just finally, I too wish to speak to the applicants and the questions that have come from the two board members in front of me. Thank you for what you've done for me. It goes back to that first interview in Dr. Andrews' office when you two asked very tough questions of me and pushed me then. It also was rather daunting to look up your bios when I was looking at the job and to see your picture and your picture. And think about the diversity of our board here, to be honest with you. But it's been a pleasure to serve in this capacity with you here. And as I've said to other folks, and I've said to you privately, the district will be different with you not on the boards. It won't be better unless you stay involved. So I'm looking forward to you in audit, other conversations, being involved with me and the school district for many, many years to come. So, thank you. And that's all from me.
Very good, Dr. Brown. And David, you didn't get a chance to talk. You're good, David?
I'm very excited.
We're very excited. And Liddy, congratulations.
Thank you.
David, congratulations. It's really great when we have such talent in the district that we can offering more opportunities, and you bring your talent to the greater district. Dr. Brown, there is one item on the personnel report that I did not get to, or we did not mention, and it really is. It's a board item, Dr. Brown, and I do have to speak to it. Danielle De Silva, who is the board clerk, will actually be leaving us, and she is the board's loss will be South Hill's gain. So Danielle is going to be moving into the classroom. That is where Danielle's talents and desires truly lie, and we can only say that it's certainly has been a pleasure. For those out there, I'm on tape. Danielle has been the best board clerk that I've ever dealt with. You have no idea. With energy, clarity, willing to take on any tasks, really at multiple committee meetings, but really handling elections, and certainly an election that was more a couple of years ago that was out of the ordinary. Really just handled anything and everything that was thrown your way, and I can only assume that as you move into your next job, the attention span and the maturity level of the first, wait for it, of the first graders at South Hill will only be that much higher than we deal with on the board. So if you could handle us, you will do a great job in the classroom. Of that, I have no doubt whatsoever. So thank you, Danielle. 2.5 years service to us, and next September you're in the classroom full time. And Danielle was in the classroom part time, correct, throughout this year out at Caroline. So Danielle has been transitioning. We knew obviously what Danielle wished to do. So we don't like to hold talent back, Dr. Brown, David and Liddy, Danielle, and so it's we get into this at the end of the year typically. But as we talk about, the students will be here in September, so it will all happen again, and students will be here this summer. So, Dr. Brown, without further ado, let's go on to the district plan.
With that, I will be inviting Dr. Lindahl.
We have two things we'd like to do tonight. One is a state required plan. Sheila McHenry put it together. That is something that needs to be submitted to the state, and Sheila, maybe you could just quickly speak to that.
Sure.
And then the second thing we have, which I mistakenly did not get on the agenda, is an update to the board on just the overall special education improvement work that we have been engaged in this year. So we'll start with the actual state mandated plan.
The district plan, it is something that is required by the state. It does require board approval. It does not, it needs to be on file. So I don't have to submit it to the state, but it does need to be on file. So should the commissioner want to look at it, it's there. That said, I did give it to state folks to review to make sure that we had all the pieces in place, and they said yes, so it's ready for approval. So this is a required document. And the way I wrote it up, I kind of took each category that was required and provided the information that's pulled from various sources. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory. If you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them.
Anything? Anyone? I'm not seeing a lot of questions at this point.
Okay.
Nope. And I'll move the district plan for special education as presented.
I'll second.
Second by Pat. Anything else? Do we need to discuss anything? Are we good? All right. Those four will be. That's everyone. And was there more?
Yes, we.
Now there's more.
Yes, and I'm going to stand tonight because I'm readying myself for Eldred's questions and Jamie's and Connor's. So I thought it'd be best that I stand for that. We wanted to also, this is not a voting item, but we wanted to update the board on where we are with the special education improvement work that we've been engaged in all year. And so I just quickly, obviously, we're thinking of making some changes to the plan. So our goal tonight is to share some of our thinking, what went into this. It is not a complete plan, but I think from the work of the committee that was formed this year, it represents some good work. So what we wanted to do tonight is to try to answer questions and get feedback. Because I'm sort of jumping to the end. You don't need to jump slides, but what we aim to do is have this be a regular, I hate to say brief, but a regular continuing sort of update to the board on where we are. We feel this work is very important, and so a next step for us would be August, we come back with a better picture from a data perspective and some better senses of strategies and whatnot. I want to start with our district vision and mission. Our vision is 6,000 thinkers, and our mission is to engage, educate, and empower. It's something that sometimes we say really quickly and don't think a lot about, which goes against the vision, and sometimes it really speaks to us all. I think with this particular work, it's really spoken to me. I think, and I can really probably only speak for myself in regards to this, at the beginning of the year when this became part of my duties, the first thing I did was form an advisory committee. We had people from the community, we had parents and caregivers, we had staff members, both administrative and teachers and paraprofessionals. And with this advisory group, not that we wanted to start from scratch, but we really started with some pretty reflective conversations. And what came from that was quite honestly a sense of I was educated. I was engaged by that. I was empowered. The conversations weren't easy. Many of them were challenging and sometimes difficult, but I think the work of the group over the course of this year really started to gel, and we really started to take a different direction for this work. It's important to note that this group, there was probably about 15 members that met on a quarterly basis, but we decided to form 3 different subgroups that met much more frequently. So the overall time that many of these folks gave to this group was really quite impressive this year. The major change that I want to pose to you tonight is to stop calling it the ICSD Special Education Improvement Plan. What we'd like to propose to you is to call it the ICSD Inclusion Plan. We think this is a really powerful shift in thinking, and I'm very, very careful to say that I by no means am coming up here saying this is the first time we've spoken about inclusion. Inclusion has been a process for many, many years. Becoming more inclusive has been a process for many, many years in our district. We felt, though, that this plan would become much more powerful and quite honestly inclusive if we changed the name. And by changing the name, started to look at rethinking some of the strategies, starting to broaden some of the strategies, and starting to look at just one sort of segment of our population, but to look at everybody. It means at times that the plan has sort of broadened its scope, but we feel that some of these shifts will really help the district, and most importantly help the students in the district. So if you can go to that. Several years ago, the Department of Special Education created a vision statement with actually many of the people who were on the same advisory committee. What we decided to do is break down that vision statement to a few key phrases on the next slide. Go to the next slide, please. And so what we decided to do was to break down that vision statement into some really key areas. One is to create and sustain an inclusive educational community. Two is to embrace and respect the diversity of all students. Three was to have high expectations for all students. Four was to maximize opportunities for all students to participate in all aspects of school and community. And then the last one is to maintain a safe learning environment. So I think there was a strong sense of, again, I'm hesitant to try to speak for a very diverse group of folks, but there's a strong sense of we don't want to completely reinvent the wheel. We did some good work, we've been doing some good work, but we want to give it a bit of a new direction and some new energy and power. So we built many strategies and many action steps and many goals from these 5 key areas, which we think really fit underneath the district vision and mission that was created a few years ago. Danielle, if you go back to that data collection, probably the very first thing in creating a more inclusive community than what we are right now, probably the most important part is to find a way to measure it. When you're shifting a culture, or when you're asking a culture to grow even more, it's hard to measure that. It's hard to always say everything comes out in a state test score. Those are obviously our bottom line, student learning, graduation rates, things like that. But we also wanted to find some other ways to really look at measuring our inclusiveness as a district. So we settled on a few, what we're calling just some strategic data collection. And some of this, to the board, I put a draft of like the parent survey, or it should be in your Dropbox. I apologize for some of these things getting into a little bit on the late side. I was probably working on some of them last night. But the one is to do an annual survey of parents and caregivers and students and staff involved in special education. That's the survey we have created right now. That's the survey that we are going to give next October. Our initial goal is to give it the last few weeks of the school year. We put the survey together. It was ready to go about probably 5 days ago. We made a decision to not try to sort of force it the last couple of weeks of the school year and get a lower response rate. We decided to hold off for the fall where we could really work on getting a very broad and representative number of people who respond. That also gives us a little bit of time to get even more feedback from the group in terms of improving that survey. When we made the decision to make this plan about inclusion and not just special education, it's brought even some of the things I have in front of you into question. We should look at expanding the survey. Just because your child is a child who does not have an IEP doesn't mean that you're not interested in inclusiveness either. So we're going to look at ways of either expanding the survey to have more parents be able to reply to it, or to look at some other different focus groups as well. One focus group that we're very interested in looking at from a survey perspective, even though there would obviously be challenges with this, would be our English as a new language families. We do have these parent caregiver survey completed, and we do aim to put that out to the community after making some summer revisions, probably at the very beginning of October. Another very important aspect that we want to do is what we're calling a self-assessment audit that's focused on inclusive practices. To the board, we included a very sort of draft version of this in your Dropbox. How we're going to do this is going to involve quite a bit of time, but we think the payoff for this is going to be huge. What we want to do is for each school to identify a team of people, not just teachers. We want a broad perspective of people who work in the building, to meet with one or two people from outside the building to go through a series of questions about where they are on inclusive practices. And again, this is not just focused on special education. We think having this sort of focus group approach is important to kind of expand, or maybe triangulate is the word, some of the data that we get from the survey. We want to hear directly from people about how they feel in terms of inclusiveness of our district. The other thing that we want to do with that is to include parents and caregivers in that. So while we have this survey, we also want to have a focus group of parents and caregivers at each of our 12 school buildings to have sort of a self-reflective group sort of question answering about inclusion. And again, this is not going to be just targeted for parents whose children have special needs or have IEPs. We are looking to have a broad array of parents and caregivers at these meetings. We are kind of aligning ourselves to have that take place in all 12 of our buildings between October and January. We feel that we'll get really rich data from that, but probably really complex data as well. Part of us is not just looking sort of from an endpoint data perspective, but we also think the process is going to be really powerful. We think just having that conversation where we're listening to people's experiences, people's thoughts about where they are, where their classroom is, where their child's experience is going to be really important for us to start making some goals about where we can improve. We think that strategic data collection is really key for us to have a strong foundation for the work ahead, and to not just have mandates that don't connect with people. We can say till we're blue in the face we want to be more inclusive than we are today, but we think until people get a sense of where exactly their school is, where their child is, or where their classroom is, we won't have a good sense of where to go. The last part of this is to create a rich set of baseline data and this would be specifically to look at students with IEPs. Again, you can see how our thinking is shifting on this as we go, and we want to broaden that for sure to include students with 504 plans and students who are identified as English as a new language students as well. This baseline data, while we may have a little bit of it right now, we feel in August is when we would come back to share this baseline data. This particular baseline data, obviously we're going to be doing this, and it's rather time intensive in the fall. But just the baseline data in terms of where our students from different student achievement perspectives. The reason why we want to wait till August is we really want to use a lot of the district assessments that we've developed and started to implement over the years. We're seeing, not that the state tests aren't important, but with the number of students who've opted out of those, we want to look at some different measures to really get a better sense of where our students are. So if you could go back to the broad categories. What I'm just going to do, I'm not going to go through the rest of the slides. I'm going to speak to each of these areas and talk about several of the main goals we have for these. And please feel free to interrupt with questions. I will go sort of at a somewhat surface level, and I'll sort of dig deeper based on where your questioning is. Number one, the first thing we're going to focus on is creating and sustaining an inclusive educational community. One of the strong beliefs of the advisory committee is that starts with leadership. So we really took that to heart. We feel like just like anybody else, there is an area for growth, learning, and development with all of our leaders in the district in regards to being a more inclusive leader. So we have a few steps that we're taking with that. One step is we have a team of teachers and administrators attending Inclusive Leadership Institute at Syracuse University this summer for 3 days. We're doing it partnering with BOCES to keep costs down, but we're excited to send a team of about 14 people from our district to hear some of the best thinking in regards to inclusion in school from not only around the state, but people from around the country. We have an administrative leadership retreat every year. Ours is it's sort of spread throughout the whole summer, but we're having a key day, August 24th, in which we're gathering all of our administrative leadership in the district, and a main focus of that day is moving this plan forward and doing some activities around being more inclusive leaders. We're putting a strong focus on us developing our leaders in terms of implementing inclusion. Throughout the year, we have an elementary leadership professional learning community, a secondary leadership professional learning community, and an entire administrative team that meets. All of those different groups each meet twice a month. And part of their focus throughout the year will be on either implementing aspects of the plan, discussing implementation strategies, or sort of looking at what the data is telling us in each of our buildings. As you can tell, we not only landed on a focus on leadership, but also focusing on individual schools. We're trying not to come at this from a deficit model. We're not looking to see who's not doing what. We're really trying to get people where they are and grow them. But that being said, sometimes we feel district data doesn't connect with a building level leader or someone teaching in a classroom. It kind of becomes more abstract. So we want to bring some of the data and some of the work to the individual school level. That creating an inclusive community goes way beyond at least the formal leadership team. And we will be doing quite a bit of professional development. We've spoken about some of this PD in earlier board meetings, but one of the focuses of our PD both this summer and throughout next year is on improving the way co-teaching happens in the district, and having teachers who do co-teach give them time both to learn how to better do it and time to plan together as well. Another aspect of creating an inclusive environment is more support and training for our paraprofessionals. This has been something that I've mentioned to the board many times. We've been focused on for a couple of years now. We want to even ramp that up further and sort of guarantee a minimum number of hours for our paraprofessionals. I think the latest we landed on 8 hours. It doesn't sound like a lot, but the way their job works, we've tried to find every way possible to kind of reach them during their typical workday, and we've gotten pretty creative. When I say minimum, we have many, many folks who want more, and we're trying to deliver more, develop more PD for our paraprofessionals every opportunity we get. That's something that we also feel very, very strongly about. The last part of this creating an inclusive community is obviously the most important part. It's the family and student experience. We talked about a survey that parents and caregivers get. We want to find a way, and this is going to be a challenge for us, and that's why this summer I think there'll be a lot of fruitful work that happens, is to survey our students on these very same issues, or at least some groups of our students. We also want to look at the way we are communicating with our families regarding some of the things that we do. There's obviously sort of a legalistic side to the special education process and a lot of other things that we do, and there's things that we have to include in letters. But we're in the midst right now of a communication audit. That it'd probably be round one of the audit, because I'm sure next fall we'll hear an awful lot of feedback regarding communication all over again. But we want to start making some initial changes, whether it's things are better explained, things are a little bit more user-friendly, but some of the communication we have with our families we definitely want to improve. We also want, and we feel like some of this outreach and the data collection part, we think really positive things can happen from that. While there may be some difficult conversations, we think approaching this with a real strong listening ear will go a long way, or hopefully go a long way. That the intent at least is there. The next part of the plan, this plan, to be fully honest, we are continuing to work on is embracing and respecting the diversity of all students. There could be many, many things under this, and you'll see as I go through this some interrelated nature of the plan, but two key areas for this is what we do with human resources in terms of recruiting and retaining both the absolute best educators we can have in all of our school buildings and classrooms, but also a diverse group of educators as well. The second part that we're going to be focusing on this summer is to really strengthen and bolster the work of our equity mentors. equity mentors serve as guides, professional developers, support structure in all of our buildings. They're usually a teacher receiving a stipend. And so our aim for that is to provide with them some support and training around creating human rights friendly schools in all 12 of our buildings. We already have several of our buildings starting to go down this path. This is not a mandate that everyone has to be at some certain spot by like November of next year, but we think that conversation is a really powerful one to have in all of our schools over the next few years. This high expectation for students area of the plan is one that I'm going to sort of touch on, I'm going to say briefly, because we've spent an awful lot of time with this one, but we've talked about aspects of this quite a bit in previous board meetings. But a big one is the curriculum work that we're doing. We are now engaging teams of curriculum designers. I'm going to start using the word design instead of plan. Designers from pre-K all the way through 12th grade. And we have probably, I don't have the exact number, but certainly several hundred teachers engaged in curriculum design this summer. We're asking these teachers to do two things in their curriculum design. One is to begin with the end in mind. That's the understanding by design sort of concept. And the other is to start to incorporate some universal design aspects to this curriculum design. So when you are using those concepts, you are thinking of the broad range of learners that are in your class. And you are trying to design curriculum that differentiates and tries to meet the different needs. Another really huge aspect of this part of the plan is RTI. RTI is, we're giving ourselves a couple of years to focus on this because it's a big area of improvement for us, but we want to become much more consistent than we currently are between all 12 of our buildings regarding RTI implementation, response to intervention. What we do as a school, working with families when a child is struggling. And so that is an area, while there's great things happening in all our buildings, we want to aim for more consistency. And we also want the process to make more sense for families who are going through it. So that will take a lot of work and focus. This next one, maximizing opportunities for all students to participate in all aspects of school and community. This one also could be huge, but we're focusing on a few key areas with this one. One is transitions. We know that we do some really good things with transitions, but we need to do a better job with the pre-K to K transition, the 5th grade to 6th grade transition, and the 8th grade to 9th grade transition. That being said, many members of the group, and I agree with them, they said let's not just focus on that, we need to focus on just transitioning between just any grade. And so that's something that we want to do, not only for students with special needs, but also students who are learning English as a new language too. We feel that communication between schools or between grade levels will really help an educator learn about a student and sort of indirectly or directly help that student gain more sort of opportunities. Another thing that we're going to look at is athletics and fine and performing arts. Not that these areas are necessarily like hugely in need, but we want to look at the number of students who do have special needs or who are learning English as a new language and what is their rates of participating in different levels of athletics, what is the rate of their participating in some of our different fine and performing arts. And we want we're learning tonight, we'll have an interim fine and performing arts director for next year, but we're going to task those two directors as we go forward with creating a committee to look at that issue and start to develop some possible solutions to that. And then finally, maintaining a safe learning environment. This is obviously of huge importance, and we have some key goals and strategies with this one. One is to just make some revisions to the Code of Conduct for elementary and secondary. That will be something that I'll be working with administrators and some teacher input over the summer. Another is that we are going to be creating, of course, there's going to be some committees coming out of this work, and one committee is to look at how we respond and how we deal with some of the extreme behaviors, especially at the elementary level. We think that starting to really talk about that and develop some strong district or even BOCES-wide strategies regarding that will really help us, again, be a more inclusive district. Finally, one of the strategies, and we've talked about this briefly in a prior board meeting, and we'll do this more in depth as we get closer to the next school year, is the Lighthouse program, which has been working with middle school and high school students over several years. We are expanding now to the elementary level with BOCES. And so Lighthouse provides a temporary kind of intensive support for students, and I think it usually goes about 6 to 8 weeks, I think. And so it's not a child like leaving a school and getting a different placement that is permanent. It's a very temporary sort of therapeutic help for a child where a large team really works with individual students, and that is a new program that we will have. So there's an awful lot to this, but there's some themes here, and I want to talk a little bit about the plan that was in existence. Hopefully, you'll hear a lot of the same strategies that were in the previous plan in this one, curriculum work. One thing I forgot to mention, developing and strengthening the elementary literacy framework and elementary mathematics framework, and tackling what that would look like at the secondary level, a secondary mathematics framework and a secondary literacy framework. Those were things in the prior plan. Working on transitions were things in the prior plan. Some things that weren't in the prior plan were things like really trying to get, along with some of the achievement metrics, really going after aggressively some qualitative data and trying to use both of those things to chart a path of improvement regarding having a more inclusive culture across our district. I think aspects of this plan will touch everything we do. The pilot program that Liddy was talking about during the superintendent's report, I think is a really cool step that we're taking this summer, where we're looking at kids who are struggling, and we essentially are trying to provide them greater access to higher level math at the middle school level, which we hope will enable them to keep accessing that higher level math as they go through school. Another conversation that happened at a board policy committee, I was unfortunately unable to attend that one, but there was a conversation around maybe making some revisions to our policy to include transgender students. That is a step to becoming a more inclusive community. There are many, many, many ways to look at this, and these are just some of the ones that this advisory committee has sort of landed on in this moment. We obviously want to be able to be successful. We don't want to bite off more than we can chew, but we think we have to keep being really aggressive with this work. I'm very thankful to have more members of the team. So my name isn't attached to every single one of those action steps, and I attach other people's names to aspects of that, and so I'm excited about that as well. But two next steps that we're going to do, we would like to, obviously this is pending board setting their agenda, but we'd like to come back in August, both with a brief update on how some of the early inclusive leadership work transpired in August, but also to look at some of the data that we've collected, especially focusing on some of our district assessments and looking really closely at where different groups of students performed on them. Then we'd also like to come back again late November to go over the results from the survey, the parent caregiver survey that will be going out in early October. Not to step too far ahead of myself, but we'd also like to come back probably, I'm going to guess, early February to give an update on how all of those inclusion self-audit, both with our staff people and with parents went in each of our 12 buildings, and how that may impact different strategies we have. We're trying to go after this really in a thoughtful way, but also in a very sort of action-oriented way. We're not waiting to hear the results of surveys or audits to know that we need to do more with PD, that we need to do more with supporting our staff members in regards to this, that we need to do more with our administrative leaders in support, that we need to do a better job of communicating some of the things that we try to communicate. So we're acting on many of those things right now, but we hope that a lot of this data that we collect will really help inform the plan. That's what I have to share with you right now. This isn't for a vote. As I said, it's for feedback. I'd love to try to answer questions that you may have, but as you can tell, we're trying to grow this out as we go and come back on a regular basis with updates. And the next time we come back, I promise it will not just be me up here talking, and we'll have a team of people. But tonight we felt it was best just to try to sort of cohesively go through a year's work of a group of really committed people. So what questions do you have?
Wow.
Did you do that?
Matt has left the building. Okay. Wow, Matt. You know, pretty Eldred. Go ahead.
Make it real simple and clear. I know we are a very transient community, so we get a lot of new kids, especially at some of the elementary schools with, I mean, they're classified, but they have a new set of needs. So when you're modeling the data and you're reporting the data, will new kids be able to be included, you think, even on an annual basis? Or what's a lag time that will be there for them?
There, district assessments for sure. We will have new student data. So yeah, we would be able to do that for sure. I know you have a hard to run.
We'll come back. We'll come back to Eldred. We'll hear from Connor.
I want to applaud the district's effort for including ESPs in professional development. I want to ask, what kinds of things, starting from scratch, have you been focusing on, and is there any overlap in the teacher PD, because they seem to be focusing on somewhat similar issues, and is there any plan in the future to include service union staff members, bus drivers, nurses, custodial, in professional development as well?
That is a great question. The two probably biggest areas of focus for ESP PD, it's a big nice alphabet soup there, was on sort of behavior management or dealing with student behaviors. The other was the shifts with the Common Core. A lot of our paraprofessionals wanted the same information that teachers had because they're right there and we want to learn about the shifts and we want that same information. And a lot of times we're dealing with some of the more challenging students and we need more tools in our tool belt. And Connor, that what you just said is something that we talked about in some of our professional development. I think back to the PLC day in January. We engaged every single staff member in the district, not just classroom folks, but we had different trainings for our transportation, our drivers, our food service folks. That's something that we want to expand as well. So I did this last week with the advisory committee and I got an enormous amount of great feedback and being really specific about what we do with our some of our service providers in the support realm. I think we need to put that in there. So it's lacking right now in terms of really specific items, but that's great feedback.
I don't know where this falls into the plan, but I know in one of your earlier meetings there was some conversation from the advisory committee about the parent packet of information, including the introductory letters that go out. We had some conversation in the policy committee about this as well. So I don't want that work to get lost because it didn't seem like it falls in here. So is there going to be some work this summer that helps revise the ways in which we send letters out to families that tries to chunk the packet? There was a recommendation of having like a one-sheet handout of checklists for parents and teachers as well, so they know which forms they can have. Yeah. Is that work?
We are trying to make some of those revisions this summer. I think some of the truly thoughtful or big changes will probably happen over the course of the next school year. I know already one thing Liddy has looked into is just also like the registrar process or the registration process and making some right now small changes so things make a little bit more sense for folks. And in that regard, some of these families are families coming from different countries where sometimes we're almost confusing folks more than, and that's, when I say these things, it's not in any individual's fault, it's more like the things we put in place that we thought made sense, and they end up sometimes making things more muddled. But that being said, the communication that we're looking at right now is communication regarding the special education process. and communication regarding like the RTI process, the AIS process, things like that. Just the sort of overall packet that goes out. That's something that we, the elementary leadership team especially, will be meeting several times this summer, so we will take a look at that as well. I hear a lot about it from Dr. Brown as he registers his oldest child, and he gives me feedback, and I will be going through the same with my son, I guess, too. But so it's an interesting conundrum, because some of the things we're sort of forced to have, and so we're trying to find a way to have the things that we have to have, but yet have things make more sense to folks too. So we're trying to thread a bit of a needle, I guess, with that, but it is a large goal for us.
Other comments, questions? Elder, go ahead.
The Lighthouse program, Matt. It sounds like the kids are taken off site, and there's a concentrated effort of some real professionals to work with them. Teachers and parents involved in that at all, or is it just for privacy reasons a kid in that group?
I know parents are very involved in the process itself. We don't just sort of do it without a parent being involved in it. To be honest, we were actually planning on doing a specific board update regarding this, and we just couldn't line the people up for the right nights, because it's most of these folks who staff this. But I think part of an update in the future would be to really get in depth with it. What I do know is it has a very high success rate for the middle and high school levels. It provides kind of a temporary, therapeutic intervention, if you will, in a very team sort of approach. And so when BOCES came to us wanting to expand, we're obviously the big district in the region, and we immediately signed on. We think that it could be very powerful at the elementary level. Obviously, parents really understanding what it is and parents trusting it is huge, especially with our younger students. I mean, that goes without saying for all of our students, but we need to make sure we're ready with implementation of that as well. That's probably one of our summer goals in terms of just being organized and ready, making sure our elementary principals really understand it, making sure key folks at the elementary buildings really understand it, know how to make referrals, how to support people in the process. But again, I think it really represents an aspect of inclusion, because the goal of the program is for the student to come back. And I think that was one of the reasons why we jumped right on it in terms of expanding, because we thought that it fit really nicely with this overall plan.
And it is a voluntary program. The middle school, high school, you can't force a student into that program. They need to. They will only accept students who want to be in the program. Otherwise, it's not going to be effective. That's probably going to be some of the elementary. Obviously, parents are very much into that.
Anything else right now? Matt, it sounds like we're going to revisit the inclusion plan in August.
Yes, and I'll sort of just end with one statement. A member of the group, I think a lot of members of the group felt really good with the plan, but they obviously all, and I totally agree, it's all the implementation. So we will be spending quite a bit of time this summer as a leadership group focused on making sure we are ready to implement all aspects of this. And it'll be one of the sort of large goals of the executive team, which got a little bit bigger tonight. So we're really excited to move forward.
Thanks, Matt. Tremendous job. And there's a bit more board business. Sean, I believe there's still policies that we can possibly pass tonight and we'll be done with, correct?
That's correct.
So Sean, go ahead.
Just jump in. So this follows right off through what Dr. Landau was saying, that these were going in tandem with each other, that there's been a policy review of the special education policies, maybe at one point in time we'll consider calling them the inclusion policies, but for the time being, that's what they are. We had voted in 7 policies as part of the 14 or 15 in the series last week. We postponed 8 or 9 of them this week to have one more chance at the policy committee meeting, which was held on June 11th, to review some of the suggestions and feedback that we received from parents, caregivers, teachers, and community folks. And the policies that are all in the Dropbox have gone through, again, multiple reviews, including these ones have gone through one last review at the June 11th policy, and including administrators and folks over there. So these are our recommendations. So with that, Caveat, what we're hoping is that by the end of this evening, we will have passed the entire special education policy series. That would be a well, not yet. Let's get through these and see what happens, and not jinx ourselves. But I do also want to acknowledge that most policies come through us from the state, and then the committee does through some wordsmithing. Without question, these policies are a great example of policies written by community, not even by a committee. That there has been a great deal of feedback, wordsmithing, suggestions, debates, legal counsel, etc. And so, without further ado, I move policy 4321, programs for students with disabilities under the IDEA and New York's Education Law, Article 89, for a second reading and adoption this evening.
Second.
Second by Pat. Any questions? Go ahead. Do you need to speak to?
No, the only thing I would highlight to the board is that the first paragraph is example of what I'm talking about of a policy written by a community. It's the opening paragraph tries to outline the main ideas and arguments and philosophy behind special education, in particular that we believe that all students arrive to school with the skills and challenges that we must be responsive to in order to optimize their learning experience for all children. And students that are classified into the special education program are general education students first and foremost. And our district's ability to respond to the unique needs of individual students and to fully include them in this educational program are key measures of our effectiveness as a teaching and learning organization. That we spend a good deal of time framing around that way, and that seems to be consistent with what the advisory committee is doing as well. So this is a long policy, 8 pages, that outlines the overarching program with some specifics, but points to other policies later on.
Very good. Any questions, comments? All approve? That's everyone. So very good, thanks, and move on, Sean.
Fantastic. I move policy 4321.1, education of students with disabilities in the least restrictive environments, for a second reading and adoption at this time.
Second.
Second by Pat.
We withheld this policy last time to talk about some words, just some language shifts that the committee chose not to do, so the policy exactly as it was the last 2 weeks.
Questions, comments, anything? Anyone? Those 4? That's everyone. Thank you.
I move policy 4321.2, school-wide pre-referral support and interventions, for a second reading and adoption this evening.
Second.
We pause a minute just in case anybody else. Pat seconded it. Right. We're good, Sean, on this?
Yes, we spent some time. This is our partly describes some of our RTI process, but yeah, it's good.
Okay.
Did you make changes?
4321, no. This has not been changed. There was a paragraph that was added between, but I don't think it was added most recently.
Right.
So.
Okay.
So it's it reads as it will read.
And Liddy was essential in writing this policy.
All right. Those 4. That's everyone.
The corollary regulation, I move policy 4321.2-R. This is the regulation for school-wide pre-referral supports and interventions.
Second.
Second by Pat. Anything? No words of encouragement, all those 4. That's everyone.
I move policy 4321.3, allocation of space for special education programs.
I second.
Yep, okay. Thanks, Pat. Go ahead.
I don't believe there was any changes there. There was some conversation again about the annual census and some dialogue about an annual report. That annual report was moved to 4321 that we voted earlier, and it's the report that we just saw this evening that we voted on earlier.
Okay, good. Who seconded those 4? It's everyone.
I move policy 4321.4 and 4321.4R, the regulation of independent education evaluations.
Second. Way to sneak in, Chris. Very good.
There was some conversation about the 150-mile radius that the policy includes for an outside evaluator, and conversations about the fee schedule being updated on an annual or semi-annual basis, which we will be doing in the office.
Okay, that's clear in the policy now. Okay, all right, good.
Just where did the 150 miles come from? Just curious who picked that out of the air.
We just used some legal counsel, but we felt that it was reasonable. You know, there are a lot of even at 150 miles, Rochester, Syracuse, even Ithaca, you're going to get many. You know, you're going to get a lot of
qualified people to do these evaluations.
How far away is Albany?
Less than 150.
That's what I thought.
Oh.
All right. Just point that out.
You would know.
I would know.
Okay, second, I think we've answered questions. All those for? That's everyone.
I move policy 4321.5, confidentiality and access to individual education services programs and service plans.
Second?
Our big debate here was trying to find language to make sure that folks beyond teachers had access to IEPs, should they be carrying out an aspect of the IEP, so finding language that gave access. And we had some conversation about adding the words 504 also to service plans and IEPs, and both recommendation from our professionals and with support of the policy committee is to engage in a separate 504 policy that will be coming to the board at some point in time. So just be on the lookout for that.
Okay. Anything else? All those for? That's everyone.
I move policy 4321.7, district-wide and statewide assessments of students with disabilities.
Second?
Whoa. Did Sean actually finish?
Yeah, no, that was great, even better. Same conversation here about this policy was held up thinking about whether or not we should add 504. That will be covered in the 504 policy.
Very good. Any comments, Pat, on any of this? Go ahead.
I lied. There was one addition. We did borrow a paragraph from here talking about...
Sean, you misstated. You didn't lie.
Oh, I misspoke.
We don't lie, right? No. Go ahead.
I speak quickly. We added a paragraph saying that declassified students also have testing accommodations up to a year. That's a similar paragraph we borrowed from other policy elsewhere, but it's already been in there.
All right.
And you do have a reference to 504.
Yeah, first paragraph.
Some we do, because there are some testing, but we try not to add 504, just generally across the board to IEPs, that they have different legal conditions.
But you're okay with the reference that's here?
Yeah, all right, very good. Comments, we're good. Everyone? For? It's everyone.
And lastly, I move policy 4321.14, special education personnel.
Second?
And our conversations was held last time to talk about the idea of an annual report, and also to think or consider language to talk about adequate staffing levels, that there was a request that be put into the policy. The policy committee chose not to do that, thinking that would have budget implications, and the role of policy was not to impact budget per se, but also to make sure that we are within legal compliance of any personnel that we would need for students. So we chose not to add that language, but we're expecting that our personnel and our experts will make sure that we have adequate staffing.
Very good. Move second. All those for? That's everyone.
I'm sorry, did I miss policy 4321.9?
Yeah, see, because I skipped over it.
I move policy 4321.9, declassification to students with special...
This is the last one.
But he found it. He went right back to it. See how he did that?
I see.
Like my Pat. Did I tell you how good Danielle is? I mean, just way to catch it, Danielle. As the last, Danielle will be working with us throughout the summer, so we'll
somebody keeping us in order.
We won't be wandering the wilderness for too long. Was it seconded by?
It was.
Okay. I suppose the usual person.
Need you both.
Okay. Elder can't leave the room. Don't leave the room. Anything else? Elder's good. All those for? That's everyone. Thank you, Elder.
My last vote.
Sean, that's right. There's no more policies to do, right?
No, not just the 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, and 9,000 series, but we'll get there later on.
Okay, thanks, Sean. That's once again, we really appreciate the work of the policy committee. We mentioned it in the past meetings. These policies have been in the works with these specific policies for over a year, I guess. You've been working on, not to mention all the other policies that we've been going through. So it's a huge job, but it's one of the most important jobs that we do is set policy for the district going forward and for our current. Yeah, go ahead.
As Dr. Lindahl said as well, part of the idea about the process of going through the policy review is raising questions and having dialogues that help us improve what we do. So I think it's been a long process, but I think a fruitful process at the end of reviewing things, having conversations, opening dialogues, and so we're greatly appreciative for everyone for sticking through it, and that we got that part done. Now we can clap or cheer or do whatever we want to do.
Any other business by the board? Members, John?
Yeah, we want to give the board a quick update. It's also not on the agenda, but a quick update about the EPC contract. We had a facilities meeting yesterday to talk about the EPC. The EPC stands for an Energy Performance Contract. I just went back to look at my email to see when we began this conversation, and I have notes from March of 2013 that first talked in detail when we began having conversations. We had ideas, and companies pitched to us in August of 2013. So I give that by way of saying that this has been a long-term coming. In general, the district is going to be engaging in roughly $9 million of capital projects. The EPC is an interesting funding plan by the state that allows us to borrow money and have that money paid for by itself, both through energy savings and state aid. And so after the first year we get state aid back, it'll actually be $100,000, give or take, positive cash flow from doing things like changing out lights and sealing the envelope and changing out air handling and things of that nature. And so we've been pushing this for quite some time because some of the things that we knew need to take place in terms of deferred maintenance of some of our buildings, we wanted to have through this special financing another ways which we think as a board that we're saving the district and saving the taxpayers significant amounts of money by being innovative with the funding. When we began the process, I don't know if we have the two slides that Amanda sent. When we began the process 2 years ago, but probably in the past 6 months, we put plans in the state ed, hoping that we begin some of that summer work this summer, in particular in two key areas. One, folks probably recall one of our most impressive board meetings were students of Ithaca High School lamenting to us the conditions of the bathrooms, and board members took that to heart, and we understand that greatly. And so we were trying to make sure that when we went through the EPC, that a good portion of that projects got included within the EPC project. We also are very much aware, very much attuned to other students at Ithaca High School lamenting the condition of the pool, and knowing that that's an area of great concern, and so we wanted the EPC to address those as well. As I said, when we began, there was a 20-week wait. Folks probably hear about some of the problems and some of the issues that the state has been going through, particularly the New York State Education Department. In March, that was bumped up to be a 26-week wait. We were told that the possibility of authorizing a third-party review may bump us into the queue a little faster. We did that, and in between of us doing that, the New York State has gone further and further behind, and now looking at a 36-week wait to have state plans to be approved. What that means is that some of this work cannot begin, legally cannot begin until we have state approval. And so we are pushing folks as quickly as possible. That the pool would be the one that would have to be on hold until probably the end of the summer. We were hoping to begin doing that work at the beginning of the summer. Amanda will be working with our phys ed people as well as our sports team to see when we could probably get that going. The idea of if we got approval in August, maybe we try to start in August. It may take a little bit longer than that, 6 weeks to get our funding in place, etc. What we do know, all that being said, is that we will proceed forward this summer with updating partitions to the bathrooms, both at Boynton Middle School and at Ithaca High School. So, particular G and H building at the high school, and then as funds are available, because there's only a certain amount of funds that have been allotted for summer work this summer, without state ed approval coming through, that we'll try to do. We'll do all of Boynton, and we'll do as much of the high school as we possibly can. We are also looking to replace a good deal of the sinks at both institutions at Boynton and the high school as well, including some of the toilets that have been broken and not working, but those will wait until we get state ed approval. That work we can do, as we were told on Monday, we can do during the evening time, we can do during breaks, and so the minute we get approval, Train has promised us that they will find a way at their expense to find evening times, to find weekend times, to find times during break to make that work happen, so we're not waiting an entire school year to wait till next summer to make that happen. The pool work, we will debate about what is the best timing. We know varsity swimming starts in August, so we'll debate whether or not that's a smart move to move folks away from the pool and do that work and run out pool space, or keep them until the end of the season. It debates, but we want the public to know that we have been as active about this as we possibly can for the past 2 years. It's beyond frustrating for us. but there is a plan in place to at least have those things move forward, and that does not include the other additional work that the EPC will take care of at all 14 buildings, if I'm not mistaken. I think 12 of the buildings are going to be some EPC work. Smaller things, right? So,
But district-wide.
District-wide. So we wanted to give the public an update, and if folks have questions, comments, feel free to call board members or folks around here.
So do you think that the pool might be not able to be done for perhaps another year?
No. No, we think that we'll shut the pool down sometime this school year for 6 weeks, is what we're told to do the work.
4 to 6 weeks.
Right. Yeah. Now, and we should also mention some of these things. Train, who we're working with, has already agreed to pre-order at their risk to pre-order some of the air handling units.
So they're staged and
filtration
ready to
system.
go. Yeah, they have some of the long lead time
But
items.
4 to 6 weeks is the time the pool's closed?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why we've got to work with athletics as to when they want it closed.
And you can see we're 169th in the queue now. We were told yesterday that sometimes we can get through 50 projects in a week, sometimes we get through 7 projects in a week. So most likely we're probably looking at an October. If we're being realistic, we're looking at probably an October approval.
Oh, yeah, because nothing's gotten better at this stage,
No.
so there's no reason to think it's going to get better now.
Right. And there was a big notice, so folks may have realized, the state has tried to add a couple million extra dollars to hire more engineers to get through more projects, but they put that in to make that happen soon, right? So by the time folks get trained, by the time folks get actually on board and get hired, we're still talking, we're going to be to October probably between this happens. But we want the community to realize that we have been pushing this, I think, pretty aggressively for quite some time, and we'll keep pushing it, and hopefully we'll get the pool done as soon as possible. And a quick kudos to Paul and his team as well for trying to be very flexible to do some of this work on their own, take on some things that we thought would be carried in the EPC, but the funding hasn't come through. But so our grounds crew said we'll take care of that. We'll find ways in our own budget to make some of those things happen. So Paul, thanks for your work in that area as well.
Thank you.
And certainly, for the board, we were dismayed that we could not fix the bathrooms at the high school before Connor graduated. I mean, it's been...
That was a goal.
It certainly was. You gotta have a goal, right? You gotta have goals. But we've been pushing on
It's a reason to come back.
Yeah, if Thursday night doesn't work out, Connor, next year,
Come back and give a flag.
So, anything else, Brad?
Yeah, Finance Committee met yesterday, had a chance to review where we thought we were year end. You saw that in your consent agenda. Also, we're brought up to date. As you know, we completed the borrowing from the 2007 bond issue. Some had been short-term. We'd been borrowing short-term. We decided to now roll that to long-term, and a small amount of the remaining money for a couple of small projects that we'll be doing. As part of that, Standard & Poor's and Moody's re-rated us, and you should be aware that we have been downgraded from a AA- to an A+, reflection of our decline in our cash position. We've been using our reserves over the last 5 years, and it's reached a point where they're now sufficiently smaller that the rating agencies have decreased our rating. On the good side, of course, they've done it just as the turnaround to the other direction has occurred. 2014-15 we'll be back at a positive position, and expect 15-16 and going forward to also be positive. So, but you should be aware it's a downgrade. Future borrowings are likely to cost more.
But the current borrowing that we just went out with was very favorable once again.
Yeah, we're, I'm not, it could be that there aren't many school districts borrowing capital right now, or what, I don't know why, but yeah, it's
Interest rate environment.
258 long-term, 20-year at 258.
Right, 2.56.
56, thank you. So 256 for 20 years. So I don't think we paid anything for it this time around.
But in fact, so it's my last meeting, and it happens to coincide with the fact that there's no more money to be approved by the voters to do long-term borrowing.
But we just finished, Well, we'll try to say that a little different
To
way.
be approved, I don't understand what you mean, in the future?
The bond.
Oh, you mean the 2007?
The 2007 bond.
They've already approved that.
Well, no,
And we have,
And we've now gone through it all.
well, no, I think
8
it's,
years later,
I didn't say that one.
no, it's a little different. I think it's pretty,
Dollars is gone.
it's very fitting, that we, at Jay's last meeting,
Right.
we finished up and borrowed the last of the 2007 bond referendum, and the district was downgraded. So thank you, Jay. For all
Well, on the
that.
other side, I think the money was very, very well spent. There was deferred maintenance and improvements throughout the district.
Well, it was a once-in-a-generation opportunity that the community agreed to and allowed us to go forward with during a period of economic uncertainty. We had conversations around this desk multiple times before you were here, Dr. Brown. Should we delay? Should we go ahead? Was it prudent? Was it proper? We made the argument that we were going to be able to take advantage of a great opportunity to build more for less cost and to borrow at
record low
at
rates.
lifetime lows, and frankly, that's the way it worked out. And you can see with other entities, those that waited, there's less bids, and they're well, I'm not going to point to Ithaca City, but they're over time and over budget. So we were under budget, and we were able to actually do more with what we were.
Oh, right, the money we borrowed now was money that was saved previously, and so we've been able to do more projects than originally planned.
So it's so Jay, it was a wonderful thing, Jay, that you were a part of from the beginning. You were before we were on the board. You were a part of meetings and discussions regarding that 2007 bond, and
Paul was here.
Yeah, Paul was here, and frankly, predating everyone else at the table here.
Judy was here.
Well, Judy Max, who is at this table right now tonight, so we appreciate that. Other things, is there a Human Resource Committee meeting tomorrow?
There's a Human Resources Committee meeting tomorrow.
School's over, I mean, you know.
Well, I asked people if they wanted to meet, and they clamored for a meeting, so what can I say? I spent the last couple of weeks actually shadowing the hiring process for the elementary school teachers who we approved in the consent agenda today, from the review of applications to screenings by principals, community members, and 2 rounds of interviews. And we're just going to do a walkthrough of that and a discussion. I was privileged to witness a new hiring process devised by the principals. Since it's late, we've talked a lot. I'm not going to give any more details right now, but if you want to know,
Okay,
the Human
so
Resources
if we want to know, I'm going to have to
Uh-huh.
go to a meeting. Oh, okay.
Cliffhanger, that's great.
Fine, Pat. Way to collaborate.
But it was a really innovative and excellent process, and I very much appreciated being allowed to witness this, and I thought everyone involved did a great job. So.
Thanks, Pat. And it should be, all kidding aside, frankly, this is a very busy time in HR throughout the summer, at the end of this year, and as we work up to our start date, whichever September. When does school start, Dr. Brown? See, everybody looking at Danielle, it's like, September 9th? I will also point out this beginning of July 3rd at 8 a.m. will be the annual reorg meeting of the Board of Education. This is actually Danielle's meeting. The board clerk runs that meeting because as of June 30th, there are no board officers, and we don't have a full board, and so new board members will be sworn in, and a whole variety of business needs to be taken care of at that time. But we'll be at 8 a.m. because it is the markets are closed. It is a holiday for many, so I guess we're going to do it at 8 o'clock. And if that works for most everyone, I guess this way works for everybody. work for the most people that we could get together, and that's going to be that day. Connor, go ahead.
Graduation June 25th, Ithaca College Athletic and Event Center, 7 p.m.
In an air-conditioned venue.
Yes.
And we will be there. There's no doubt about that. Anything else? Without objection, we are out of here. That's it, Dr. Brown.
Congratulations, gentlemen.